Hey everybody, it's Steve. How's it going? Uh, this is this is my YouTube channel. Still working it out. Life on the road. That's the story of my life. Life on the road. I had four kindergartens. We moved so often in the 1 year span that normally people have kindergarten. I had four of them. Give you an idea. Had one in Jackson, Mississippi. One in San Pasqual, California, uh, one in Santee, California, and one in Eugene, Oregon. That was the span of a year. Yeah, life on the road. My family were gypsy people for a while, basically. Oh, so it's the morning time, and I have time is it? Oh, so yeah, I've been awake for an hour and a half or so. Um, every morning, when I'm home, I get up and uh, make my wife breakfast and get her some coffee ready for her to take to work, and in a certain prepped way that she likes. And I put together a little thing of supplements that we both take, and our morning medications, whatever that might be. And I'm an alchemist. Before I ever become fully awake, I'm an alchemist. I have not discovered the secret to making gold yet, though. I have continued to work on it. Hey Frank, how you doing, buddy? One of my cats is an old man, and he's still kicking though. But yeah, sorry he distracted me. Anyway, uh, I have not made a video yet where that I wasn't quite woken up. And yeah, after an hour and a half, I'm still not quite woken up. I'm fairly confident that I didn't accidentally put something into my wife's breakfast that people shouldn't eat. So I'm pretty sure it was all made with just love, and so hopefully that goes, that comes through on the as she's going to work right now. She's eating her breakfast and drinking her coffee and all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, my school today, trucking school doesn't start for me until noon because I'm on the second shift. Anybody that's ever been to trucking school knows that um, that a semi has to be filled with people. There's multiple seats in the back where there's normally a bed, but in trucking school that's been converted to seats. And then there's the instructor in the passenger seat and one of the students in the driver's seat. So our class is big enough to where that only a certain number of people can fit in the truck at a time, and so I'm on second shift. When they all operate from like noon until or morning till noon, and then lunchtime from noon to 1, and then I get there during their lunchtime, and then I begin to drive for 4 hours and stuff. So yeah. The good news though is for me is I've already had my CDL for a long time, and I've been through one of these schools before, a really good school, and so a lot of the stuff that the students are learning um, is brand new to them, but it's been learned and relearned by me. So I have an advantage in that I already know how to drive, and I already know the pre-trip backwards and forwards. And yesterday I was going through a pre-trip, and there's no point in me doing it. I mean, at this stage of the school, pre-trip should be done. You should have had that memorized. You should have had that down, and there's probably one or two other students besides myself that have it down, and the rest of them are, I'm worried about them, but they're not dedicating a lot of time. They're not really good students. They're not purposefully, spending enough time messing with it. And I spend more than, I'm not an incredibly intelligent person, so it sounds funny when I say I overthink things, but as an ADHD person, most people will know that we do a lot of overthinking. And so yeah, if you're required to do something 10 times, I do it 100 times, So so they wanted me to go through my pre-trip, and I started going through it just for them. It wasn't for me. But in the middle of it, I suddenly had a senior moment, or a brain freeze, or whatever. Something distracted me, something I was thinking about while I was doing it or something. And I said, and I just couldn't, you know, I could have continued it. It would have been ugly, and I wouldn't have helped them at all, because here I would have, I'll show them again today. It'll be no problem. But at the time, I just said, nah, I'm done. I said, you go ahead and go, and then I'll show you afterward. And we just never got around to doing it again for me. But it's really simple. All of the pre-trip that you memorize in a thing is you're sitting there visualizing that you have the DOT tester with you in the cab. There's nobody else in the cab with you besides you and the tester, and you have to go through an external pre-trip, which means you're looking at every component on the truck, especially safety things. But every component, you pop the hood, and you basically name every component that you can see, and what you're looking for to inspect as a driver before you take off on a trip, making sure that the belts are all in good condition, the hoses are all in good condition, there's no leaks, that kind of stuff. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And everybody that's ever been through one of these schools knows it's not bent, broken, or cracked. And there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. And there's no rips, tears, or frays. So yeah. It's funny, the very first time I was ever in one of the schools, somebody had been through a school before, and they spouted those things out, and we thought, well, that sounds dumb, but it's something that the inspectors, the testers like to hear. So in schools, you memorize things like that. And so the idea is, if it's plastic or metal, it's not bent, broken, or cracked. If it's made out of rubber like tires or hoses, it's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. And if it's a belt, like in the under the hood, that drives, like water pump and stuff like that, there's no rips, tears, or frays. And there are never-ending amounts of YouTube videos that people watch, which by the way, YouTube videos these days, I came up in a time where there was no internet. So, but even after there was internet, my first computer was $2,500, and it was a good computer, but it's that computer doesn't do as much as my phone does now, albeit I have a good phone. But YouTube videos help more people than they probably even realize. While you're beginning a trucking school, for instance, there's a myriad of videos on every single component of the school, and pretty much, I bet any kind of school, period, there's videos of people that know something backwards and forwards, whether they're an instructor or just a really good student, that make videos, and then beginners get to watch those videos, and they really try to memorize what the person's saying and stuff. At some point, when I get into a truck, I'm sure I'll make a video for people to do, like a in-cab inspection, and you're going through every single little thing, and you're verbalizing it for the instructor, or not the instructor, for the tester, so that they can be confident that what you're looking at, that you've been trained. And the whole point is so that a new driver will inspect their stuff and not hurt people out on the road because they're operating with faulty equipment. It's shocking how many, when you get down to it, it's shocking how many things there are to name, and the rules that govern them. Like, front tires can be a certain depth of tread by law, and that back tires on a semi can be a certain depth of tread by law, and it's a different depth. And they still to this day do what's called recaps, where that you'll take an old crappy tire that should be retired, and they'll just put new tread on it, and that's a thing. But you're not allowed to have them on the front because they're dangerous. But trucks to this day, all the semis you see, they're allowed to have them on the back. They can have them on the back of the actual tractor, and they can have them on the back of the trailer. But they're less safe, so they can't be on the steerage wheels in the front of the tractor. So that I guess that's a good thing. But there's a zillion things to name, and so anyway, I knew I've memorized this stuff several times now, because I had my first trucking school in 2010. It was at a community college. It was Scott Community College's equipment and instructor, but he came to Clinton, which is the next county over, to do the class, because they were trying to start the program up in Clinton, Iowa, and at Clinton Community College. So I got that one. My mom was a teacher at Clinton Community College, and they were going to cancel the class. They had really been working on trying to have this class, but they were going to cancel the class because they were short one student. And so normally, and this is in 2010, normally that class was like over $2,000. And my mom called me up, an adult. I didn't need any, I had my own business at the time, and doing contracting. And she said, "Hey, you want to take a trucking class?" And I'm like, "Not really." And she said, "It's free. It's just that we need," and she explained it to me. And I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And so, it was only 2-3 hours every day. So I could do that. And I didn't want it to get, canceled on everybody. And it was fun. I had never wanted to be a truck driver at the time. And I'm like, having a CDL is not going to kill me, So I got my Class A at the time. Still didn't drive commercially. I had my own stuff to, for my company to drive and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't have to have a CDL for that. It was my stuff, But anyway, so all that was new to me. And it's also, I've learned over time, especially when you're older, I'm 57 now, it's very good to learn new things. I'm for the rest of my life, I'm going to be joining classes, whether I have to pay for them or not, or doing things that I've done before, where I sit in on lectures in a college. That's free to you. You're not going to get any kind of credit for it. You'll learn new stuff, but like learning a language on, in your car while you're driving type of thing with one of the programs. Babbel is one of my favorites. So anything like that is good for your brain. Reading books is great, but you can take it a step further by learning new stuff, especially when there's a little bit of pressure on to have to be able to perform. So they give you a chapter, it's due tomorrow, that kind of thing. So that you're forced basically to learn something new and memorize something and then report, kind of a thing. It's good for your brain, especially at, over 50, kind of a thing. You can live cleanly, like don't smoke, don't drink to excess. And that's a different thing to everybody, drinking to excess. Some people say, I only have one drink. Well, what's one drink? Well, it's one of these, and they're holding up a bottle. One drink. You can make anything into a one. But don't drink to excess. Alcohol. Don't use drugs, the ones you shouldn't have. And even be careful of the ones that doctors prescribe to you, because they get a little happy with that stuff once in a while. A little pain isn't the worst thing. Some of the drugs that they give you to solve a little bit of a pain can cause problems, and some drugs interact with each other. So the older you get, you start to use normal medications. You got to be careful. I mean, I take 5 different medications, and if I wasn't careful, a doctor could easily have me taking way more than that. And I've had to tell doctors, no, I'm not going to take that. When I got MS, it was at the very beginning of COVID when they decided this is what you have, and these like 12 neurologists together, a team of neurologists, said we think you should take this, and it was an experimental medication that was designed to completely disable your immune system, because MS is an attack. It's like an allergic reaction. It's an attack of your white blood cells on the myelin in your brain. What the myelin are the insulation around your the nerves in your brain. And so, okay, sure, this one thing turns off your immune system that happens to be overreacting at that time. But this was right at the start of COVID, and they weren't batting an eye. Let's turn your immune system off right at the beginning of COVID. And I was like, no, not going to do that. That's not smart. And so there are times when, I mean, there was more brain power in that room on their end, than like each one of those people had gone to school for, to college, just college for, 4 years, then 6 years, and then, 4 more years for something else. And, they're all brilliant people. Anybody can put that kind of effort in and then learn the things that you learn and all that stuff. And they were all telling me, yeah, what we're going to do is right at the beginning of COVID, we're gonna shut your immune system off. What could go wrong? And so sometimes, honestly, with in the driver's seat of this body, as good as those people are, as smart as those people are, not one single one of them know how to take over my body and be able to just fly it. Like my body is some kind of a robot, and that they could just drive it. And they had other motivations. I mean, it was a teaching, medical teaching college, and so they'd like to experiment on somebody, and they just got to get people to be willing to be experimented upon for this new drug. And I'm like, well, either you guys aren't smart, or you're evil, or something. But anyway, you gotta be in charge of your own body when it comes to what you're taking. So live cleanly. Don't smoke tobacco. It's not a good idea. Don't chew tobacco. Don't let tobacco have anything contact with your body. It's a bad thing. Killed my father. Don't drink to excess. And my definition of excess is a glass of wine a day, perfectly fine. A bottle of beer a day, perfectly fine. A shot of Jack Daniels every day, if that's what does it for you. I love Jack Daniels, but it doesn't love me back. Anyway, anything more than that, though, now you're getting into territory, the excess territory. And the smartest human being that I've ever heard of was Nikola Tesla. And latter part of his life, he decided that he would drink a water glass full of whiskey every day. And his belief was, at least what he told somebody, was that he thought he would live forever by doing this, and that he was going to discover something. And the reality, well, of course, is that he just loved fucking whiskey and how it made him feel. Really, really smart people aren't necessarily the best people to ask about certain things. Sigmund Freud was addicted to cocaine, and he thought it was a wonder drug that at some point everybody should take, And we've since figured out that cocaine's not a good thing. It's good in some ways, supposedly, but it's not good in other ways. And so, yeah, as smart as he was, he didn't know everything. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Still Working It Out, Life on the Road. Okay, so I just recently, yesterday in fact, changed the name of it to, I just added Life on the Road, so that people would understand, and it gives people more to look up on YouTube. It's going to be, about my life, which has pretty much been like that. And it's funny, everybody laughs, like my wife and stuff, that says that we're, my family is from just, we were gypsy people and stuff. And so that makes sense. And then, doing the trucking thing, a lot of people in their 40s and 50s are reinventing themselves. I love that term, by the way. And starting to drive truck at this late life, it's a whole other life, And so there's people interested in finding out, the ins and outs of doing that kind of stuff. So I got my first CDL in 2010. Then 5 years later was changing to another state, and it was time to, I got up to the counter at the DMV, and they're like, oh yeah, you need a DOT, you have a commercial driver's license, so you need a DOT physical. And I hadn't had one in 5 years. And they said, do you want to go get one now? And then we can, you can just come back and wait in line for another hour. And I said, no, it's okay. I don't need it. So let's go ahead and just drop that. Brilliant. And I was wrong. I didn't think I was going to ever need it again. And then a few years later, maybe 2019 or so, I decided to start driving buses part-time after I found out I had MS. I couldn't physically do my job anymore that I was good at and that could make money with and stuff. And so I was going to college online, the University of Arkansas, Grantham. And but I still needed an income, so I started driving a city bus for the town of Clinton, Iowa. And so I had to get my CDL back. And so I went through another program, but at least this was company driven as opposed to an outside school. And learn all this stuff again. And I only needed a Class B driver CDL because I was driving what they call a straight truck. Kind of like imagine a U-Haul as opposed to a semi with a trailer. They don't articulate in the middle. A bus doesn't articulate in the middle unless you have a really fancy bus. But even still, I don't think it's exactly the same as a semi and trailer that way. And semis and trailers are an interesting beast to master because the trailer is 53 feet long, and the semi itself is the size of a motorhome. There's a lot to know when you get into a truck that big. You change from the way cars and pickups drive, vans drive, or whatever. They have hydraulic brakes. Semis have air brakes. And the reason is the brake system is so much bigger and longer, okay? The trailer has its own brakes. The front tires have brakes. The back tires of the truck itself has brakes. And so they run on it with a different system called an air brake system. And the mechanisms, you've seen how big the tires are and the wheels are and stuff. The mechanisms like the brake shoes, brake drums, that kind of stuff, are so much larger than a car's. You need more pressure, and you need a way to be able to hook the brakes to the trailer up to the cab without spilling, toxic fluids on the ground. And so that's why air brakes are air brakes. And there's a whole bunch of safety mechanisms with air brakes, and so you have to learn all of that and how to maintain that, or how to not try to use those things when they're damaged, and stuff like that. So you have to be familiar with air braking systems, and because of the length of the vehicle and that it articulates, there's if you turn a corner, if you don't turn it just right, you can hurt people with the back end of the trailer. You can literally smash cars and stuff with it. And remember, vehicles are not supposed to touch each other, so that's a thing. So there's a lot to know, and that's before you even get into the backing up, and putting the trailer in a place that needs to be, like, for a loading dock or unloading dock type of thing. You need to be able to back that big long trailer up into a spot that's just barely fits it, and without touching anything else that you shouldn't be touching. So yeah, that. So it's a big school, and so this channel will follow that that this school, and then the new trucking person, me, I'm going to work for Prime, and I'll be stuck with a trainer for probably 2 months. I won't be doing a lot of videos of that just because that would be rude, be uncool, poor manners, whatever you want to call it. I'll check in once in a while, but it won't be like in the truck while we're driving kind of a thing. But the theme of this whole channel is going to be how many times can you're building something, like, say, imagine you're building a little cabin out of Lincoln logs. You get almost to the end, and then something in the universe decides to make one of those Lincoln logs fall off, or it's a Jenga pile of your life. Everybody's life is a Jenga pile, and life itself decides to pull one of the bottom pieces out, and then it all crashes. And you have an opportunity to roll over into the ditch and just in the fetal position and die eventually, give up on life. And people do that a lot. There's a lot of people that are sitting at home that gave up. Life kicked them in the nuts, and they punched them in the gut. Life did something like kill a child that they had or something. Things that are unnatural, something that a lot of people just don't recover from. And you have an opportunity to figure out how to move forward and reinvent yourself. There's so many things that life does that way. And I've had a lifetime of that. One after another after another. And I've had to reinvent myself many, many times. And it's not a torturous pain. I don't mind it now. And it's my only option. My only thing I keep on hearing in my head is never give up. Just never give up. And so this truck driving thing is the next iteration, the next reinvention of myself. It's really not 100% reinvention, though. At some point, I've realized, like Stephen King books, how they all seem to tie in together, at some point. And that's my life. Right now, with the trucking thing, I've got to do trucking for about 5 years and to earn enough money to get a business started that I already have ready to go. It just needs a launch money. And so that's what I'm working on. My business is going to change the world. That's my goal. My business is going to change the world. And here's what I'm saying about that. How would my business change the world? Well, we went through a thing with my mom where she became unable to take care of herself. And it just so happens that we couldn't put her in a home because it was the beginning of COVID and nobody was taking anybody. And so we had to really figure out some things, and like somebody to keep her place clean. We weren't there all the time. We had our lives, and not to mention COVID really threw a monkey wrench into a lot of stuff. She would not live with us. And there was a whole bunch of things. That story will be told one day on this channel, I guess. But my business is going to be where that somebody could have somebody go clean their mom's place up and check in on them and, make sure that they were doing okay. And there's a whole bunch of things that can go along with that. Well, this one is going to be one of those. It's just a cleaning business, where that somebody comes in and cleans your house for you, if you're a busy person or you hate cleaning your house and you've got a little extra money and you can spend it on that. Great. Like in our situation, we had, our mom had 5 kids. When she got to the point where that she couldn't, do these things for herself, she had 4 kids that were alive. And we got together and, made arrangements for her best we could. And so this is the kind of thing that would happen. Even if they lived all over the country, everybody could pitch in a little bit to make having a cleaner be able to come into our house once a week. And in our situation, my company situation, it's 2 cleaners. Always, there's always a team of 2. It makes those people a little more trustworthy, and my hiring and training and all that kind of stuff makes them trustworthy too. But nobody knows that, And but having a team of 2 always makes it a little more trustworthy. They're also a little safer because you never know who they're cleaning for. Hannibal Lecter, that kind of thing. But it's also going to be affordable. So I'm going to take a smaller profit margin, meaning that the workers are going to earn specifically going to earn over the average for people that do something like they do, so that it can be a real job. They'll have all the insurance benefits and things and coverage. It'll be a business that's designed to promote people and designed to educate people, so that you could start off as a green cleaner, but you end up working as a regional manager, not just a manager, not just a trainer, not just an HR person. You'll have at one time or another done all those jobs. You'll at one time or another been comprehensively trained in every single one of those things. You'll be a member of SHRM, all those things will be paid for by the company. And that stuff costs more, it does. At the same time, I'm going to make sure that the customers, the clients that are getting this cleaning done, they can afford it. And so my profit margin is going to be smaller than is typical for a business. I'll make up for it though in volume. So we are going to, it's already set up so that it can expand infinitely, and it will naturally expand because we'll do 2 things. We'll have lots of employee retention, because it'll be a great place to work. It'll be a place with a future for people. And so you have a lot of experts that really care about their job. And because one thing kind of begets the other. So when you have people come into your home that really do a good job, they care about their job, they care about you, they're the right kind of person to be around people, then you're more likely to call them back. Especially if it's something that's affordable, So at some point, those people will be very proud of their job. And so why go somewhere else, And if they tell me at some point they need something else, me or whoever will be like, well, what is it you need? What is it possible we could do those things for you? They need an education or something. Hey, we'll send you to school, we'll figure out those kinds of things, to make it to where that people can afford to evolve while we keep them as an employee. It doesn't mean we'll necessarily keep them as a cleaner. We might keep them as some other type of employee. But the longer they're there, the more they'll make. It's just how that is. So I'm going to start a business, it's already started, but I'm going to launch a business that will be a passive income for Karen to finish out her life in comfort with choices and stuff. And at the same time, will give people an opportunity, many opportunities, for education and to learn how to lead, and to learn cooperation and customer service and all those different kinds of things. And so it'll be doing good things for the employees, be doing good things for the public, and it'll accomplish what I'm needing it to accomplish for Karen, which is a steady passive income. She doesn't have to be wealthy, even though I'm sure that would be neat. But she needs to have choices and comfort, and she's going to be one of those people that lives until she's 100, and so when she's not able to work and stuff, I want her to still be having everything she needs, So that's the whole point of this. That's why I'm doing this. And it's been over 30 minutes now, so I'm going to end this video. But this channel's for us. It's for everybody. Just never give up. never stop reinventing yourself if you need to. Never stop saying good things to yourself about yourself, because I spent many, many years polluting my mind with all the mistakes I've ever made and punishing myself for all the wrong choices I ever made. And there's been a ton of them. Just don't give up on yourself or on life in itself. And it's never ever too late to reinvent yourself. Teach that to your kids. Let them see by example that we are just capable. The political system right now and stuff, I don't agree with it, but at the same time, it's going to end up working. One way or the other, it'll end up working, because we don't give up on ourselves, period. All right. I hope you guys have a great day. I love you. And remember, this is still working it out, life on the road, because there's no such thing as too old to reinvent yourself. Okay. Still working it out. Please like and subscribe to this video. So hit the bell so that whenever a new one pops up, you get access to it. And so that you see my channel often without having to really search. And I'll make it more entertaining. I've got some ideas coming up of a lot of things that I think you'll like. I've never had kids or anything like that. And so I've spent my life a little bit like a party, but I've learned a lot of neat shit along the way. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'll be here for you. So you guys take it easy. Have a good one. And I love you.